All right, we're online. Welcome back to the Wealth Stackers community call. Today, I'm going to be going over the content production plan I currently have, the overall strategy I'm thinking, and how I got there actually. So, first step is, of course, ask ChatGPT how to help me, right? So, I'm going to bring up some of the prompts, all the ones I could find because there's so many. I basically I'm talking to ChatGPT all day, basically.
That's
Like my kids are like, "Oh, you talking to your best friend?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
funny.
it's true. Don't be jealous." So, all right, this is one. I'm gonna start taking you through like a bunch of concepts and ideas that I been
Oh,
going through.
I thought of something else too, but
Go
when
ahead,
you
go ahead, ask, ask, ask.
no, so the second part to it was what I'm starting to find out, and you may have mentioned this before as well, that whatever group you're targeting, that's probably not the group that's gonna ultimately be a customer. So
Yep.
how do you um kind of have generic things that could kind of or that you will organically find your target customer. Not your target customer, but who your
The, the
customer
current the
actually
first
is.
one. So this
Yeah.
is where this changes all the time in a business. So this is like something you have to like get a system for. Like when you're from 0 to 100,000, it's a
Hmm.
certain customer. You're 100,000 to 1 million, it's a different customer. Million to 10 million, you always have to like be kind of flexible with that. So the first way you start is, who do you think?
Hmm.
And that in the beginning, I'll tell you with Stack, the first people I thought was people who were already in DeFi, who knew how to do all this crazy stuff
Hmm.
we were doing, but they didn't want it. They were like, no, I think I could do this myself.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, all right. So now let's think about who else. So we went after people who we knew that bought crypto, but they didn't know this.
Hmm.
Right. So then I went after those people. And in going after those people, real estate investors came out of nowhere. Like I didn't
Hmm.
even expect that to be the case, but
Yeah.
they were the ones that kept coming in and putting in big chunks of money. And then we
Okay.
were like, all right, I guess it's real estate investors,
Yeah. And
and
did you find out why that is?
why real estate investors use it?
Yeah.
Um, Good question. I would say it was because they really understood the whole idea of borrowing to invest,
Mm.
right?
Okay,
Like
yeah, that makes sense.
because a real estate person, that's all they do all day,
Yeah. Yeah.
So once we started talking to people and people were like, yeah, I don't understand why I would be borrowing though, I don't really want to borrow money to, to invest. And I was like, all right, but the real estate people were like, oh my God, free money to invest? Sign me up, and
Yeah,
it was like, oh shit,
that makes
they
sense.
get it. Yeah, so it was hold on, I'm sending somebody. Um, it was a journey, you know what I mean? Like, and what I did first is actually this is where I really started. I'm glad you said that because it reminded me. I started by creating a list of the first 100 people I thought would buy it. And I before I even built it, I spoke to each one of them. I made a spreadsheet and I
Hmm.
said, all right, I want to find out if people want this, are willing to buy it, and maybe even willing to invest in the company,
Hmm.
right? So I went and I did this. There's a book called The Mom Test. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Okay. The mom test.
Yeah, I guess now with Google and ChatGPT popping stuff up is not as important, but
Now I'm gonna
uh,
okay,
so
there we go. The mom
so
test.
the Mom Test is this book that shows you how to ask people questions without telling them your idea. Because
Mm,
what ends up happening is it's like a kid, right? Your son comes up to you, is like, Dad, I got this great idea for, pancakes that look like pillows, whatever.
mm.
And of course, it's your son. So you're going to be like, oh, that's an awesome idea, son. Even though in the back of
Yeah.
your mind, you're like, who the fuck wants that, right? So The mom test makes you ask questions that will let them reveal to you their true feelings about the problem you're solving,
Hmm.
instead of being like, here's my idea for solving this problem. They're like, oh yeah, that's amazing, because they're your
Yeah.
friends, or they know you already. They don't want to hurt your feelings, like your mom
Mhm.
wouldn't want to hurt your feelings, right? So I did 100 like that. Like, we went through and we spoke to every person we thought. And funny thing is, when we launched the app, very little of those people bought. So it comes down to you guessing in the beginning. And that's why they say your first 100 customers are the hardest,
Yeah.
because you don't know. You think you're building this for a certain type of person. And then we had a call. It was this call pisses me off to this day, but he was freaking right. I had a call with this big time investor, guy from the South, white guy, mega rich dude. Somebody was like, yo, you should really check out Miguel's product. Me and Francis, we got on a call with him.
Hmm.
He was like, all right, this is, and also the preempt was, this guy is a hard ass. He doesn't
Mm.
like anything. So whatever he tells you, don't take it personal.
Yeah.
He's just the type where he's gonna tell you, he's gonna rip it apart as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I was prepared for that, and we got on the call. He's peppering me. Yeah, but what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? And I'm like, I'm answering, and then he asked me, "Who are you building this for?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Well, people from communities like I come from are not investing enough. If you look, the average household is not investing enough to replace their income when they retire." He was like, "Oh, you trying to build this for poor people?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You're not building this for poor people. You're building this for people like me." And I'm like, he's like, "You'll see, you'll see." And I'm like, "Fuck you! Like,
Yeah.
you're rich. Why would I build it for you? You're already rich."
Yeah.
And what he meant, I think, is poor people are not even gonna understand what you're building. And he's like, "You're not gonna get them as customers early. You're gonna have to wait a while before you get them as customers."
Hmm.
And he was fucking right. Like, it pissed us off in the meeting after. We were like, "Damn!"
Did
Like,
he say it like a, did he present it in a, did he say it like a dick, or was he like,
yeah, his style is like, everything he says is like a dick. You know what I mean? He's like,
yeah,
he's everything is like,
Dame Dash
it's
style?
Dame Dash style. South white rich guy, like trying to really do his due diligence,
Yeah.
right? And finance is not nice. You know what I mean? It's numbers.
Yeah.
So they're like, but again, I've been in a crazier situation than that with another founder. I had this friend who had a startup that was trying to give low cost internet, because back then 30% of the Bronx didn't have high speed internet.
Yeah. I
So
think I remember
yeah,
this.
you remember him. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. His name is Marlon. And we went and we started talking to investors. And one investor told, and he said the same thing, because they always ask this. Any investor wants to know who's your customer, because
Yeah.
when they give you money, they want to know. This is an analogy I thought of this weekend, actually. When you take investment money, it's like you're choosing between driving a Toyota Camry and a Lamborghini at full speed. So if you want to drive your Camry at your regular speed around the city, don't take investor money. Because as soon as you take investor money, they expect you to jump in that Lambo and foot down on the
Went to the
gas.
gas.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have a path of a highway that you're gonna be able to speed on, you're gonna hit a wall, and your company's gonna go out of business, because
Yeah.
they expect you to scale fast.
Yeah.
And once you take that money, if you're not scaling fast, they're like, I wasted my money. I could have put
Yeah.
this somewhere else. I'd rather you run into a wall than trying to go fast, because then you'll bring back. Because here's how it works with investors, just to kind of sidebar this, because I think we're heading into a world where everybody's going to try to be an entrepreneur. And one of the first questions they ask is, how do I raise money? The problem is, and this is why I haven't raised money, but I might do it in the next month. We may take some money in finally, but um, you have to understand the path that you're choosing once you take the money.
Hmm.
And That I understood because I run Meta Bronx, but most entrepreneurs don't understand that. And what they're going to ask, and it even happened to me with Stack, was when in the beginning, when you first start the idea,
Mm-hmm.
the investors don't really care about the customers as a big of a deal yet as can you build the idea you pitching me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get an early stage investor, that person is saying, I'll give you money to build it, because if you build it, I believe then we could figure out the customer thing.
Yeah.
So because I built Stack without investor money or with internal investor money, when I stepped to investors, they were like, all right, who's the customer? And I thought I would get like a leg up because I built it. I'm like, nah, give me money like if I didn't build it. They're
Yeah.
like, nah, you already passed that. I don't need to give you money for that. Now the risk to your business is, can you get on that highway?
Yeah.
So who are you? What's your highway? Right. So I was like, at first, again, you gotta guess. I'm like, I think we're gonna go after high net worth individuals. Because again, I'm going after poor people. They didn't understand it. I get a millionaire. He understands it in 2 days. He puts $1 million in. So I'm telling these stories,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, all right, that makes sense, but we don't really think that's the better play. We think business is better because business one has more money than millionaires, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
have more
Mm-hmm.
recurring, and it's more recurring, right?
Yeah.
So like a millionaire, he puts $1 million. He may not put, like, that millionaire put in $1 million. He didn't put no more money in
Yeah.
2 years. His money is still there, no new money. So that's cool in like the early, like, okay, we got a good chunk of money early, but it doesn't really create a sustainable long-term business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, businesses make sense. I have been thinking that already, but I didn't say it. But once they said it, I was like, you know what? We have been thinking that. They're like, okay, so now come back to me with how you're going to get as many businesses as possible.
Mm.
So, and another thing came up because all a business is figuring out the risk step by step, right? So the first risk is, can you even build this?
Mm-hmm.
So I solved that problem. The second risk is, how are you going to get a lot of customers? And right now I'm still solving that problem, right? Until we have a million users, I still haven't solved that problem.
Yeah.
So that's the current bottleneck of the business. And that's what I work on all day, pretty much. So the mom test, just to go back to the original question, the mom test is good if you're starting out an idea to get feedback without giving the idea.
That makes sense though. So that they're not telling you whatever you want to hear to make you feel better. Like they kind of, it's like, it's literally like beating around the bush. They don't know why you're asking them.
People don't want
Like,
to hurt your feelings. You know, this is
yeah,
the business, the finance dude. He don't give a fuck about your feelings. He don't give a
mm-hmm,
fuck about his money. That's why he's a multi-millionaire. He's like,
yeah,
nah, this is stupid. You know, and like the guy told me, he's like, yo, you want this meeting, but I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna come out of this with some bruises. I was like, fuck it. This is the life we chose, you know?
that's crazy.
If I can't talk to multi-millionaires, what are we doing, you know?
Yeah.
So,
No, my bad though. I kind of took you down a path.
oh good, oh good, oh good. That's
Yeah,
what's
go
going.
ahead and start doing your thing with the content stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
But it goes aligned because
okay.
now my core bottleneck is having awareness of the product for
Mm-hmm.
people to use it. So what does that mean? I need to create a lot of content for people to learn about it, either
Yeah.
advertising content, organic content, right? Those are really the only two options. So what I started to do is I'm going to start bringing up the prompts that I've been asking ChatGPT to help me with. And I've been doing this for months, so I may not have all of them, but actually, this is a good one. All right, so let's start here. This one was a few days ago. All right. Oh no, actually, this is actually I may have had this one already. So I'm gonna explain what I did here. I started subscribing to a lot of these services, right? So Sora is ChatGPT service. So when you pay $20, you get this link to Sora. Maybe it's free too. I'm not sure. Right here, and it pops to something where you can make videos, right? So Sora, I subscribe to HeyGen, which is right here. HeyGen, which I've been playing with. I just subscribed to LTX Studio, which is this. one right here. And then I subscribe to Clink. There's a lot of freaking subscriptions, right? This adds up. So I said, okay, can you kind of help me figure out a plan to make full use of these subscriptions? Because this is like hundreds of dollars, right? Sora, I paid $200 for. Hey Gen, I messed up and bought the whole year by mistake. So I paid like $600 for that. Cling, I paid for the whole year up front. That was $600. Um, LTX Studio is 125 a month. And Google has one that's 130 or no, 250 a month. I haven't started that one yet, but I'm I'm thinking of doing it because content is the key, right? So, okay. So I said, all right, come up with a plan for me. I did a deep research. I had to come up with a plan for me to take advantage of all of these services. So, first, I asked, can you give me a plan so I can make the most amount of videos without running out of credits? Because how all these services work is you pay the monthly and they give you a certain amount of credits you can use during that month. So I'm like, I'm playing around with it and I'll show you my first month of all these different services where the credits are a thing and how fast you can run out of credits if you don't know what you're doing. Um, so this is what it came up with, right? I said getting more awareness for Stack users to create a content plan and a schedule for me, right? So first it says Sora. It says you own the pro plan. You get 300 video minutes a month, right? Which I think that's wrong. I think it's unlimited actually, right? So then Cling, I get 8,000 credits. It's 100 credit per 10-second video. I actually think that's wrong because I'm using the newest updated one. I'll show you. LTX Studio, they gave me 90,000 compute seconds. That's another thing. They all have their different way of charging, which makes no sense to anybody. So they gave me 90,000 credits. Midjourney, now they have video. I don't know if you guys saw that last week. Or 2 weeks ago, they launched video as well.
You have to pay extra for their video?
It's only on the paid plans. I'm not sure which paid plans though.
Okay.
Um, and then HeyGen is this one that's like the talking head kind of video service. So it said, okay, bottom line, Sora and Cling are the only places you can realistically run out of credits, which is not true because LTX I ran out of credits almost already. HeyGen, I haven't even used it enough to know that. And this is something actually I want to bring up in any business. You got to make sure when you're spending money, if what you're spending money on is worth spending the money, right? So I messed up and I bought HeyGen all the full year because they caught me with the UX. I didn't even realize I was doing it. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to buy it for 3 months and then assess if it's worth continuing paying for, right? So anything that I'm buying for a result every quarter, I need to assess if that result is happening or not, right? And if there's a reason, if it's my fault, that's a reason to keep trying. But if it's the system that I'm paying for or the person or the service, whatever it is, I got to make a decision like do you want to keep doing that? Because again, business is up and down, right? And especially a startup, it could be down really quick and if you're paying for things that you don't need, that's the real reason people go out of business. They run out of money. So you got to kind of really keep that as in your thought process. All right, so credit save monthly. Okay, so all right, here's what it did. It said, all right, you can make 120 Sora clips a month, right? Then you can make 60 Cling clips a month, 20 LTX clips a month, and 120 Hey Gen clips a month. So that means 450 clips. I mean, that's of course if you're beasting, but 450 divided by 30 is about 15 videos a day. So I don't need 15 videos a day. I mean, of course, it'd be good to have, but it's also hard to make 15-minute videos a day. I have to do other things, right? So I look at that and I'm saying, okay, let me add up the cost to all these things to see what would make that worth it to me as a business, right? So I say, okay, Sora Sora is $200, but Sora is not just Sora. Sora is part of the ChatGPT. So $200 is also for me asking questions to ChatGPT all day. So that's totally worth it. That $200, I won't even count it in this, right? So okay, let's remove that 200. Cling is, I think it's like 85 a month. I paid for the year because I caught like a sale. So let's say it's 85 a month for Cling, and I can get 60 videos. Let's do that math. 85 divided by 60. That's about $1.50 a video. But I'm gonna show you why I think that's a lie. We'll show. We'll go into that after. LTX 20 videos a month. Also probably a lie. I'll show you why. HeyGen, I haven't even gone hard enough in HeyGen to know if this is a lie. So I'm just gonna assume these numbers are off, except on Sora. Sora, the real limit is how much time you want to spend. And I did a test on that this weekend, and I'll explain that too. That's the whole lo-fi hip hop channel. That was why this came up. Okay, so let's say we get half. Let's say 225 of videos for Cling is 85, LTX is 125, so that's about 205. HeyGen, I think is like 90 a month. But again, I bought the whole year by mistake. Um, no, actually $40 per seat. That's not bad. All right. So 40, so let's say 250 a month for all three of these. Cling, LTX, HeyGen, Midjourney, I think I pay $20 a month for Midjourney. Let me see that one. Um, what do I pay on that one? Managed subscription. I pay 25 a month. This one I also paid for the year. Because I use this one a lot. But here's the big problem. Here's another thing that we're gonna come across. You're gonna come across in this world is you're paying every month, and of course they all kind of get you to say, if you buy the year, you get this many more credits. So you'll be like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy the year. But then some other thing comes out of nowhere that's better. And you're like, shit, I just paid for the year for this, and now this is better, right? So,
Yeah, I can see that because it seems like new AI services are coming out every day.
so
It's
when I
it's hard to keep up with.
when I bought Midjourney, I thought it was just an image platform. So I said, all right, you know what? I use this a lot, but Sora didn't have good images. Then Sora made an update and it became better than Midjourney. And I'm like, fuck, I was already paying for Sora. And I bought the year of Midjourney and I didn't need to. But then Midjourney made an update and I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did that. It's cool. Whatever. And then like HeyGen just made an update. So this is where I'm like, all right, I need to assess all these. And by the time the year is up for the other ones, the ones that I paid for the year, I need to
Hmm.
have a plan because here's what I think is going to happen. I think Sora is going to be the best one out of all of them eventually, just not right now. Here's why. The reason these AI models create videos is because when you type in words, it assesses what you said and thinks about the physics of the world and tries to create what you wrote, right?
Hmm.
So there's an AI LLM model that is trying to understand the physics of the world to create what you said. And Sora, being OpenAI, I think OpenAI will have the best understanding of the world physics wise. So they're going to eventually have the best video model. I think this is my thought. Again, who knows? So I think eventually just the Sora thing is going to be enough, but we're not there right now. Sora's video is not as good as Cling. Sora doesn't do the talking head as good as HeyGen. Sora doesn't do the quality of different types of images as Midjourney. What LTX does that I liked was they create a storyboard for you up front, which is the missing link here. I think what as we go with this content stuff, anybody's going to be able to create one-off cool videos, but not everybody's going to be able to create like a cinematic story that keeps people engaged. So that was where I'm like, all right, I need to find a tool that's going to help me with that, the storyboard. So that was why I subscribed to LTX because it had the storyboard and it had VO3. So I was like, you know what? Let me try it for a month, see what I get, see what the storyboard looks like. And they had a deal where it was like $85 for the first month. So I said, fuck it, I'll do it. All right. So I'm gonna start showing you everything I've done with these and getting your questions. Cause look, it's saying, look, use 320 videos. Even if it's 225 at 250, it's still less than $1 a video. And that is if I do let's say 250 a month videos divided by 30, it's still 8 videos a day. Realistically, if I can get to 3 videos a day, I think all of this is worth it. So let's go back 250 divided by 30 divided by 3. So I'm thinking $3 a video, not counting my time, right? If I count my time, this cost goes way up. But overall, right now, I'm a founder. I'm spending 25 hours a day on this anyway. I don't care about my time. I'm not billing for it. Eventually, the idea is that as the company becomes more valuable, it will pay me back for all this time I'm spending that I'm not being paid for, right? That's how you gotta look at business. At least in the beginning. So okay, I'm gonna start going through. Actually, let me keep going. It says, look, here's the posting cadence that you should do. It says on Monday, create a Sora hook short form. Then on Monday, post number 2, do a Cling. Post number 3, because it knows that I'm also making long form videos. Like I'm talking to the camera for an hour around a topic, then I edit it down. I just posted one of those last week. Um, but I'm gonna actually veer us off a little bit to make you see something that took me a few months to see. So I've been on this video and content thing for a while. Actually, both of you on the call right now probably know that. But something was blocking me. Like I wouldn't do the videos. I was doing them, but not what I wanted to. I was doing whatever was easiest as possible, and it wasn't doing well. So I started working with like an ADHD coach because I know I have ADHD. And I'm like, yo, this is probably blocking me. Like there's something I don't understand about my brain that's stopping me from making content because it's not stopping me from getting new customers or dealing with my team or thinking through what I need to think through for Stack. But this content thing it's a problem. So I get on a call with the guy and he's like, all right, explain to me your process. So I tell him, all right, I go through ChatGPT, I create all kind of, plans. But when it comes to doing it, something is stopping me. I don't know what it is. So he's like, all right, let's take one of your videos. Where are you with that video? What's the next video you want to do? So I was telling him about the video I just posted last week. He's like, okay, um, you have the script idea. What's the next part? And I was like, all right, I need to create kind of a slideshow. I'll show you the type of video that it was so you could see the style that I was going for. All right, I'll pull it up here. All right, so I'll pull this up here. So this type of video where one of the things I thought about was what am I most comfortable doing? And this is what I'm most comfortable doing. Just having a conversation while I feel like I'm talking to people, like a speech. Because I've done speeches and I'm comfortable doing speeches. Most people are not. That's like some people are more scared of death than doing public speeches. I'm not. So I'm like, all right, let me lean into that. So I said, all right, let me create a concept where I'm talking, but I got slides behind me. So I said, I think what's stopping me is the slides. He was like, what's stopping you with the slides? I was like, I don't know. I just feel like the slides are not good. And he's like, okay, here's your bottleneck. I just figured it out. You're trying to be perfect from day one. And I'm like, I don't think so because I got a bunch of shitty videos on my YouTube. I got like 500 plus shitty videos. He's like, yeah, but whatever the case is, right now, you're stopping yourself because of these slides. And I'm like, you think? And he was like, I'm pretty sure. What's stopping you from making the slides? I was like, all right, I need to come up with what's going to be on each slide and how it connects to my overall point. Then I want to create like an image, a nice image that goes with it because if I just have the slides. So he's like, all right, so what system are you putting in place to get past that bottleneck? And I was like, none. I don't have one. He's like, all right, so that's your homework. Create a system that creates the slides for you. So you remove it as one of your thoughts. So I said, all right. And guess who I go to? My best friend in the world, ChatGPT. And I'm like, all right, I need a system. And I'm gonna show you how I did it and everything. This is crazy. There's projects now. And in projects, you can give the project instructions. So what I did was I took all the coaching I've been taking on creating video, um, everything I've been learning around video, and I made PDFs. And then I gave it instructions and I said, look, every day I'm going to give you a topic. I want you to export a slide deck with what it should say and what the image should be. So this was the first one. And look, it basically created the slide deck for me. And then it basically gave me an image prompt for each slide. And that's how I literally did this in like a couple hours or less.
That's crazy.
And it was taking me months as this bottleneck. Also, what I got to was I said, all right, he also said this. He said, okay, and I want you to shoot it no matter what. Think about it as this one is not going to be the one that goes out. He's like, you don't understand. You came to me because I made videos that I run as ads. Most of those videos I shot 3, 4 times because I go in and I say, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to shoot the video. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. It's cool. And that really unlocked, because I used to say this a lot, but I was catching myself. I didn't even realize I was doing it. I would always say, and you probably heard me say this, Swift, and you too, Allenson. I would say, you got to get over the give a fuck. You got to get to the I don't give a fuck. And then you could create content. Once you be like, I don't give a fuck how I look. I don't give a fuck how I sound. I'm going to go on and I'm going to say whatever the fuck I'm going to say and see what happens. I got over that years ago when I first started creating content. But I think what started to happen is now that I have an actual product and I feel like there's more judgment around everything I do because the product exists and there's millions of dollars of people using it, I created this extra layer of fear. It all comes down to like a feeling. I created this fear of people looking at this as lesser than and not wanting to use the product. So that was blocking me. So I said, all right, I can't let that block me. This video, I got a bunch of mistakes in it, but I don't care. It's just like a speech. If you do a speech, you make a mistake, it don't matter. You just keep going. You can't be like, all right, hold up, let me start this speech all over because I messed up, right? You can't do that. So I'm treating these type of videos as that. And yes, it's 32 minutes, which most people are not going to watch it. But this is what's called downstream funnel content. So this video, the whole concept came from a customer asking me, hey, I know you've been doing this for a few years with a bunch of customers. Can you tell me what is the best thing for me to do? And I was like, that's actually a good video to make because I'm sure everybody wants to know that. So I said, you know what? Give me a few days. I'm going to make a video. He was like, fine. So I said, okay, I'll get people to watch content. And once they really want to know more, they'll watch this full video because by the time you really want to stack, 30 minutes is nothing. If you're going to put $1,000 into something to invest 3,000, right? You know, it's not a big thing to ask for. But also, remember, I spoke about this last week. People got to get to 13 hours of your content to feel comfortable and trust you enough to buy your product. So here I'm trying to get a 30-minute out of it, you know what I mean? Out of the 13 hours, because if you just have shorts, that's thousands of shorts. If a short is 30 seconds, even if it's a minute, that's 13,000 videos. No, 60 times. Let's do the math right here. It's definitely not 60. 60 times 30, times 13. That's 780 videos of shorts versus this one just took 30 of those videos off me, right? So that's how I'm thinking all this stuff through. And of course, ChatGPT is helping me the whole way. So look, this actually helped. And then look, I said, can you even come up with an idea for the thumbnail? So I said, all right, and look what the thumbnail ended up being. Let's go to my channel. I did two versions of the thumbnail. I did one where it had an image, and I did one where it was just black and white. Actually, I can show you in the I'm testing two different thumbnails. So this is this one is very close to what he said. I don't like the whole worried face thing. I fucking don't want that. I don't want to make that. Even though they say that's gonna help, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Nah, don't do it. Don't do it. Because
um,
man, we gonna get you.
yeah, I know. My people, when I see them in the streets, they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, pause. So this right here. So down, this is a folder where I'm gonna walk you through it right now. We're gonna do one right now. I want to make a video. All right, we're gonna do it. I want to make a long form video around comparing borrowing money for real estate against borrowing money for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So now it's going through the files. All right. Okay, what I told it to do is give me the prompt that will create the best slideshow. Because again, one of the big restrictions right now of using AI is we don't know the best way to talk to the AI. The prompts do. They know the best way to talk to themselves. So when you ask them to create the prompt, they're going to make something better than you would. So that was the first part of the prompt, the first part of the answer. Second part is give me 25 title ideas because with YouTube, the title and the thumbnail are more important than the video because you can make the best video in the world, but if nobody clicks on that thumbnail, nobody will see it. They say if somebody clicks the thumbnail, they're like so much more likely to watch the video, especially if you tie the title and the thumbnail image into something that creates this kind of FOMO in them that are like, yo, I need to understand this. And if they click that, you almost got them. Then you got the first 30 seconds to really capture them. And if they watch the first 30 seconds, there's a high likelihood they'll watch deep into the video. So I said, okay, after I know the prompt, I need to know the titles because the title has to pay off in the video, right? As soon as you click that thumbnail, I need to reference that title. So if you don't have the title first, it kind of screws up the video. So, okay, give me 25 titles, then thumbnail ideas, right? Okay. And then I'll ask, all right, questions to refine the script prompt. One, have you personally borrowed from your both real estate and crypto? If yes, what were your outcomes? That's awesome. That's a good question I could put in the thing. So now I'm going to ask which title. Actually, why am I typing like a fucking caveman? Which title do you think will have the highest click-through rate? Right, that's first. Which thumbnail do you think will have the highest click-through rate? All right, so those two things. All right. Look, I didn't even read any of the 25, but let's say I just took these. Real estate versus Bitcoin. Which debt makes you richer? Not bad. See, it tells you why and everything. Then best thumbnail. Which loan wins? So there's an image of me and a text that says which loan wins. Why explains why. So okay. So now I'm gonna take this title and this thumbnail and say, okay, now I need that prompt, that original prompt, right? And I'm gonna change that to be 15 minutes because I don't want an hour all the time. Okay. Then I'm gonna say, based on this title and this thumbnail, can you create a slideshow using the prompt below? I don't got to tell you that this shit used to take weeks, right? Like you could see all the work that has to be done to figure all this out. So look, literally making each slide, and then it's gonna just export. I could copy paste that into Photoshop frame by frame, and okay, then I'll make the image too. So I'll show you how I make the image. Any questions around any of this? Because I think my type of service, which is software, it's a certain type of sale where I have to convince you of it's not too good to be true. Um, it's kind of a new concept where people don't even know they can borrow to buy Bitcoin. So I have to educate a lot. They don't come to me knowing they have this problem and I just need to solve it. I kind of also have to explain that they have the problem, explain why they can do this versus something else. Depending on what service whoever's watching this has, you may have a whole different plan that you need to work out. And that's where ChatGPT is to help you plan that out. Okay, bam, here's the slide deck. Let's expand it. All right, so the hook. What if the safest debt isn't real estate anymore? What on this? Yeah. All right, there you go. Okay. So this would be the slide. And then I just have the slides up and like a speech. I just talk and I'll edit out some things where it's like, yeah, I didn't need that. That was stupid. Take that out. Right. But now I can make this video this week. I might make this video tomorrow. So, okay, now we're going to say, I want to add to this. I also want them to make a prompt for an image here. So I'm going to say, can you also on the next tab, the next column to the right, add a prompt that will give me an image for this slide? So again, it's like talking to an employee, like or an intern, or like the smartest intern in the world. Think about it. Like you could do this with $20 a month. I pay the 200 because I will max out the limit because I'm literally doing this all day, every day. Right. So literally middle of the night, I wake up like, actually, I just thought of something in my dream. Let me ask ChatGPT. Literally. All right. So okay, we're gonna take this, and now I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna do Midjourney, and I'm gonna do Sora. So because I make my images tall for the presentations, I'm gonna start there, and then here. And then what I do, oh, I messed that one up actually. I need to, yeah, no, I need to make that tall. 2, 3, fast. All right. So I let that do its thing. Oh, increasing errors, working to resolve the issue. All right, sometimes that happens. I don't need that right now. So look
That
right
was
there.
that was Midjourney, Mike.
This is Midjourney, yep.
Okay.
And this is Sora. Um, so look at that. That's my this was what was stopping me because as an ADHD person, and most entrepreneurs are, we don't realize it. I've never been diagnosed. I just am starting to come to terms with that's what the fuck I have. And I'm starting to try to seek out information and anyone who could like make me as productive as possible. And I'm pretty productive. I just feel like in this season right now where AI, we don't know what's happening, I got to be the most productive I can possibly be. So I want to like eliminate. And yo, I was crazy productive this weekend, partly because that one unlock that guy got me. He was like, "You're trying to be a perfectionist. You need to just understand it's going to be shitty. Just do it." And I knew that, but it took him fucking saying it, right? Just to unlock it. Okay, so here's what else I did this weekend. All right, so I started playing with the LTX studio because I said, all right, I want to create, and again, ChatGPT all the way. I want to create a script where I come across a robot comes to me and tells me I created stack for you to put out because in the future there's no jobs. And this app could help people, right? Something like that. I came up with the idea, I put it in ChatGPT, and I said, look, I want it to be funny. So let me try to find you know what? It's too much to like go back and forth, but I went back and forth with it a bunch of times. So I was like, all right, this is what it landed on. I'm walking in the park peacefully, just scrolling on my phone, and a robot just comes out of nowhere. Like fucking Terminator shit, right? Remember the movie? Like fucking guys that he's like fucking, Arnold Schwarzenegger comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, you're not here to kill me, right? Like Terminator. And he's like, no, I'm from the future where all the jobs are gone, but hope is programmable. So I was like, seriously, you're from the future? And that's the cheesy line you stepped to me with, right? Like I'll try to do funny shit. This is another thing I felt for, especially you two on this call. It felt so good to say, yo, I have an idea and I don't need nobody to make it happen. I don't need not one person. In the past, I would always say, and Swift, you know this. Actually, Allison, you know it too. You guys know me for long enough where I'm always like, yo, I would love to work on funny shit. But I need to work with a funny person, somebody who knows how to write scripts. And even me and you, Swift, we said, yo, let's do it. Let's work together on shit. Me and you too, Allison. Let's work on funny stuff together or whatever. But the problem is, when are we aligning our time? We both got kids, lives, got to pay bills. It's mad hard to find time to do this kind of stuff. Yo, I did this in one day, and I'm wait till I show you the whole thing. And it wasn't even the whole day. So okay, I get so the robot says, but I brought this. He shows me stack, and then I put a little funny things in there, the whole script. So I was like, all right, this is the script. Now what? This is where I was like, okay, all these other apps, I'm gonna have to go in and frame by frame really break down what I want to do, but I don't have like a storyboard. So I said, all right, what apps have storyboards for using AI? So I found this LTX Studio one, and I said, you know what? Let me test it. So I said, all right, you open it, it says put your script in, and it tells you put your cast. So you upload images of yourself. Of course, it's shitty still with the AI. You upload images of yourself and whatever cast members you want. And of course, it comes with already made cast members. But I wanted to see how it would do with me and my robot. So I took a bunch of pictures of myself and I uploaded. And then I went into Midjourney and I'll show you. I started organize. Okay, yeah. I started making renders of robots that I liked. And I said, I came up on this look and I said, you know what? I kind of like that look. It's friendly. It's not too scary looking like some of these. So I gave it a bunch of these images and it basically made the cast member, I call it Stackbot, right? So then it made the whole storyboard, right? So it's funny and corny at the same time, but it did help me think it out, right? So, okay, it says, all right, first wide shot. You could change and you could say medium shot, extreme close up, right? So that's pretty cool. Then, let me see. You can actually, it does this other cool thing where it spits out this like a brief. Alan, so you know how we used to work at agencies? They give us a brief. It basically gives you a brief. Let me find it actually. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. All right, here's the brief. So the name of it came up with is From the Future with Bad News. I just said I want to create something like this, but I want it to be shareable. So there it says the characters, of course it fucked me up bad, right? And then the robot, So this is where another thing, right? These things you got to also take out the perfection, right? You got to understand that nobody's looking for this shit to be fucking a Hollywood movie right now. It's okay for them not to be perfect, right? So of course
That's the
it came,
hard part. I'm always like, I don't want anything that I think is trash associated with me.
yeah, and that was my
Nobody else is thinking
bottleneck.
like
That was my
no
bottleneck.
one else is thinking like that, but that's what I'm thinking about. That's how I think about it.
No, 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 100%. That was my bottleneck. It's probably yours too. Just tell yourself, all right, fuck it, I don't care. Let me see how far I can get or whatever. And that shit got me through this because even this image, I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm never using this ever, ever, ever. But I was like, all right, let me just see how it goes. Let me see how it goes. The robot, it did better with the robot, of course. And it comes up with like a whole thing. I didn't put any of this shit in here. And it put it in. It just fucking made up stuff. So then it comes up with a mood board, which sure, I don't know what any of this means, but right. Color palette, whatever. Then it comes with the storyboards, fucking hilarious. And these are the storyboards it came up with, right? Like based on the script, I'm walking, then I stop and the robot appears, and then I start talking to the robot, and it shows me a holographic QR code that I scan, and it shows me stack. And then we go back and forth, and eventually we walk off. And I'm like, so the funny part of this is the robot comes and I'm like, you're not here to kill me, right? And he's like, no. And he starts explaining stack to me. And I'm asking him questions, but at the same time, I'm telling the user, whoever watches this, how stack works because I'm trying to find out because the robot is telling me, right? So
Is the QR code real? That'd be dope if it really was active.
I'm thinking about doing that, but it's hard to make it as a hologram. But what I would do is I would make it something people could scan. Yeah, I've thought of that. The only issue with that is somebody could copy it and change it and scam people,
Oh,
right?
damn.
So that's one of the reasons I'm thinking maybe not do it. But okay, so the funny part is I was like, yo, I want to add humor though. So I was like, you know what would be funny? Look what we were just talking about, how ChatGPT is my best friend. So I was like, what if I like make it where I'm like asking it, can we be best friends? Right? So the guy comes and he's like, the robot comes and I'm like, wait, are we gonna be like best friends? That's so cool. I always wanted a best friend that was a robot, right? So that's the going humor in the video. So first, when he first comes, I kind of make that comment. Then around here, I make the comment again, and I'm like, hey, so are we best friends right now or what? And then he says something, and I say, yeah, but what if stack doesn't work? And he's like, well, at least you'll have a robot best friend or some shit like that, right? Again, I'm working on the script. You'll see it. But again, just having that, literally, I'm talking to an AI, going back and forth as my like comedy, person. But I'm thinking, yeah, that's kind of funny. I think that would be funny. Let me see it in the storyboard. This kind of helped me, and I don't really think any other AI platform does this that I found so far. Allison, you have one. I'm not sure if it does this though. Does it storyboard the whole thing out for you if you put a script? Design?
No, it doesn't do storyboard.
So
That's
this
just
is the
like,
hardest part of creating a video, right? Like you could have an idea and a script, but
yeah.
now the shot list, because I'm talking to people that are making stuff and they're like, yeah, I just go straight into Cling and start making shots. I'm like, you're gonna blow money because Allison and actually Derek went to you took classes to create film. Imagine just going out and shooting with a whole crew without a script and a
Yeah,
fucking
that's
shot list.
insanity.
Say it again.
It's insanity.
It's just you're just gonna blow thousands of dollars a day, right?
And your
So
time. It's just a
and your
waste.
time.
Yeah, the time aspect of it as well.
So this is where I'm like, all right, I was actually gonna build something like this. I was already talking to my team to like, yo, can we build this? Because that will help me create more content. But now I saw LTX Studio. I was like, you know what? Let me pay the $85. But that was only one part of LTX Studio that I liked. The other part was that it had VO3, which is the new Google model. So I said, all right, let me test that. So I said, all right, go to ChatGPT again before it shows you. And I said, help me come up with, I'll find it actually. I said, help me come up with trending. Actually, let me search. Trending videos, because right, there's trends online, and if you follow them, top social media trends. So it told me about World War III. So I was like, all right, there's like these memes going around like, before I pay next month's rent, I need to know what Iran's about to do, like shit like that, right? So I was like, yo, all right, let me try to go into the World War III theme. So I went to Sora. Actually, I told it, create a script for me. I don't know if I did it here or another one. I mean, let me see, World War III. Yep, here it is. So I said, all right, come up with a script for me. And I basically copy pasted this into here. Actually, first I started searching for trends, and I saw this trend of people just walking into water or falling into water, and it was like this thing that was going around. So I said, all right, let me try with that one first. So check this one. This is pretty funny.
Another unexpected dip. Authorities say this one came out of nowhere to the moon.
So basically, I fucking said, fuck it, I'm gonna post that. I put it on TikTok. Let me see. I was like, fuck it, out of $85, at least I fucking made one video that I'll post. And actually, I made another one. So I posted it to TikTok.
Expected dip. Authorities say this one came out of nowhere.
And then I changed the end. I changed the end to be really stacked. So like that took fucking a few seconds. But because Sora is an expensive model right now, that shit eats your credits up. Remember, I was talking about the credits that you get to do it. So then I took the World War III thing and I said, all right, let me try some World War III ones.
See right now.
Wait, let's see.
Do we have enough water? What about batteries? ETH looks real juicy right now. Exactly. Do we have enough water?
So again, it's so early that this shit is shitty, right? But everybody knows it's shitty. So I'm gonna put these shits out. I don't care.
ETH looks real juicy right now.
See, like it didn't know dude, it thought it was DUDE.
ETH looks real juicy right now.
It sounded like it said Diddy.
Diddy, that's funny. Oh shit. And all right, let me show you this.
War 3 just started. Stack protects my downside.
So again, it's bad. It's bad, but it's going to get better. That's the part where it's like you just gotta create. This is what I'm telling everybody. Create a system where you have an idea and you have your own shit like I just created in projects, folders where you just put your idea in the folder and you have a team of AI that builds the rest around you, because eventually these prompts are going to be one shot. You put that shit in VO, you put it in Midjourney, you put it in Sora, it's going to get it right the first time. Maybe the second time, third time. Not like these where you got to do it like 50 times for it to really do it right, if ever. But it's going to get better and better and better. If you looked at this stuff a year ago, you couldn't even tell what it was. It was like a dog, but it looked like a piece of clay. Now it really looks like a dog. It's barking. And that's like in less than a year. As this shit gets better and better and better, we're going to get to the point where your idea is just going to be, do you want to make it or not? And are you confident enough to put it out? Because that's the next thing, right? Like you can make shit, but if you don't put it out, why are you making it, right? And that's another hurdle to overcome. So in doing these, and I'm gonna show you, and then I was like, all right, let me look up. This one was another World War III. Let's see, this is another World War III one.
Perfect entry. We need to get to the shelter. NOU.
I don't even know what the fuck that shit.
Perfect entry.
So this is bad. It's bad. I mean, again, I'm just trying, but again, I'm blowing credits, not even realizing it, right? Then I said, all right, let me create one about the robot coming back from time to help people. So let's.
Agent. I was sent back to make sure you're not next. I'm your stack recovery agent.
I was
I'm
sent
not
back
sure
to
I'm
make sure
seeing
you're
the
not.
video you want me to see, Mike.
Oh no, you can't see?
Which I can see videos, but it's like 6 videos, like
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm rolling over it. That's what it is.
okay.
Stack recovery agent. I was sent back to make sure you're not next.
So that's around the idea, the same concept of the story, right?
I'm your stack recovery agent. I was sent back to make sure you're not next.
Again, doesn't really make that much sense.
I'm your stack recovery agent. I was sent back to make sure you're not next.
So it doesn't really make sense, that one. And then I said, all right, let's go back to the World War III.
Make sure.
Which country doesn't get bombed? I'm going there with my crypto.
You know what? That actually I thought of that one once. I saw a Kevin Hart joke where he was like in Mexico speaking Spanish. Did you see that? And he's
Nah,
like, he's joking about speaking Spanish, and he's like something about World War III. Like, now he's gonna live in a Spanish country. So I was like, all right, which countries don't get bombed? Let me create a script around that. So I put it in, and let's see. And it's not good, but
Which country doesn't get bombed? I'm going there with my crypto.
this is all fucked up. But
nah, it's cool though.
Country doesn't get
This is
bombed. I'm going there.
where this is through Sora.
this is not. This is through LTX.
Okay.
So wait, it's not showing my other one. I did more. Yo, where's the Sasquatch one? You deleted the Sasquatch? All right, but I posted that one on TikTok so you can see it.
They used to chase me because I was rare. But being rare doesn't pay rent. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm compounding. I finally figured it out. You don't have to sell your assets to get ahead.
Again, stupid, but I'm just working on a structure. So
They used to chase me because I was.
So what I did here is I said, okay, the Sasquatch is a big trend. Can you give me a script that makes sense to use that trend to get stack customers? And I even made it write me the description and everything. So if you look, it says eggs now are $20. It created all that. I didn't tell it to do any of that. But again, I'm starting to get the format down. So once this stuff is better, I'm gonna be a fucking machine, like literally 20 videos a day. Because again, the next step is running an AI agent that just looks up the trends and makes the prompt, and then creates the videos and puts them up automatically. And already shit like that is possible. I just don't have it yet, but it's coming. So yeah, man. So yeah, and then let me show you the credits. So look, I basically got 90,000 seconds of credits, and I already wasted almost all of them. Took 2 days with all these videos of me playing back and forth, wasted all month's credits. So that's where I'm like, all right, I know I spent too much on the VO stuff. Maybe if I would have just spent more on just the storyboards, this would have been worth it. So that's my next month. I may test that. Don't do any VO, only use it for storyboarding and see if that works. But also, I need to take this storyboard that I made and actually create it. So that's the next thing I got to do this month. I got to create this video. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to make the voiceover. I'm going to speak mine, and I'm going to make the robot in 11 Labs, the audio for the robot. I'm going to take that script, that voiceover, and I'm going to start making the shots in Cling and Midjourney, wherever I think is best. Sora possibly, and we'll see what happens from there. Any questions around any of this? I gotta go take my son to school. He got a test, but any questions around anything I said?
Nah, I don't got questions.
Cool, yeah, man.
If I come up with some, I'll hit you up during the week.
All right, yeah, I highly suggest you start playing around with this stuff. Like, look at the folders, start thinking about what can I create that could help me in whatever your aspect of life, but to be more productive. Like right there, that shit shaved days, if not weeks of my time, what I just showed you.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, I had to think about all that stuff, the script, the images, all of that. And I was trying to think it out. I was trying to write it out. I was using ChatGPT for parts of it, but not the full. And now I just got to say that, and it has everything. So that was me thinking, okay, what can I put in place to help me think it all the way out without me having the burden of, because that makes me not do it.
Yeah.
That's the bottleneck, you know? So, all right, so just let me know if you think of anything. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, we'll be talking during the week.
All right, cool. All right.
All right. I'll talk to you later, man. Thanks a
All right.
lot.
No problem. Peace.
Peace.